Well, snow's back. I guess winter's back, but I know it's not spring yet, but it was so nice here for a while. And now we have a lot of snow. 3-4 inches already, and it's still snowing, but I've learned the hard way that if I don't get out and shovel a couple of times during the day when it's snowing like this, and if I wait, I suffer. So I'm going to clear the snow, and then we're going to go inside and make one of my favorite things that I've made in a very long time. So let's get this chore done first. Hey guys, I finally thawed out from shoveling all the snow outside, and I thought I would take a break from the recipe videos that I have been reposting on this channel that I'm moving from the other channel, and share with you this peanut butter loaf, peanut butter bread, whatever you want to call it. It's traditionally a recipe that was made in the Depression era when eggs and butter were scarce, and peanut butter was shelf stable. And it just happens to be accidentally vegan, which is awesome. The only change I needed to make was to use a non-dairy milk. I have to say that this is probably one of my favorite things I've ever made. And it surprised me because it's so simple. The only change that I made was adding maple syrup to the recipe because, well, I put that shit in everything. So anyways, here are the ingredients for this peanut butter loaf, peanut butter bread. Super easy. So flour, white flour. I've never tried it with whole wheat or a mix, but I guess you could. Some sugar, baking powder, non-dairy milk. I'm using the Silk Oat. I really like oat milk in baking. Peanut butter. We're going to try the crunchy today. I usually use smooth, but all I have is crunchy. Maple syrup, Canadian maple syrup. Liquid gold, Canadian crack, however you want to call it. Some salt, and that's all you need for ingredients. Like I say, super easy. You want a bowl with a whisk and a spatula, some measuring cups, dry and wet, a couple of measuring spoons, a teaspoon and a tablespoon, and a loaf pan. Now I've sprayed this lightly and then added some parchment paper just in the center because I find that that's easier. It makes it easier to get the loaf out. That's all we need. Let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is measure out our dry ingredients into this bowl. And what you need are 2 cups of flour. Now I use white flour, like I said. I've never tried it with whole wheat or anything like that. You could, and let me know how it turns out if you do. I'm curious. But 2 cups of flour. And then it calls for a pinch of salt. So it's really like a 1/4 teaspoon or something like that, but just a little bit of salt because a little bit of salt brings out the sweetness in the food. And then 4 teaspoons of baking powder, not baking soda, baking powder, 4 level teaspoons. This is what will give it the rise without eggs. That was 3, right? I really should not talk and measure at the same time. So 4 teaspoons of flour. And we're just going to give this a little whisk to mix it all together. Now, Mixing in peanut butter into dry ingredients can be a little tricky. So what I find is if you warm the peanut butter up a little bit with the milk, it softens it a bit so you're able to mix it better. So that's what I'm going to do. And we're going to put in 3/4 of a cup of peanut butter. I need a spoon. That's what I need. Now, I've never tried this recipe with another nut butter, so I have no idea how it would work with that. My guess is fine, but if you do, oops, oh my God, seriously, I cannot go one, I cannot go one recipe video without doing something like that. Totally unintentionally, I just want to say. As I was saying, if you try it with a different type of nut butter, please let me know. And I would love to know how it works. And I'm sure that other viewers who are don't like peanut butter or prefer almond butter or something like that would like to know how it works. And if you are nut free, if you have a nut allergy, you could try that sun butter, which is made with sesame seeds, I think, or sunflower seeds. I can't remember which. Okay, so I've got the 3/4 of a cup of peanut butter in there. And then I need 1 1/3 cups of milk. So I'm going to pour these together in this big measuring cup and put it in the microwave, not for very long, but just enough to soften the peanut butter a bit, and mix these together before I put them into the flour, because you don't want to over mix your batter. That'll just make it tough. So that's 1 1/3. So let's get that in the microwave. So it's not really warm. It was only in there for 30 seconds, but it'll be enough to get this to mix together. So we have the liquids easier to fold into the flour mixture. You don't have to do this, but I find this prevents me from over mixing the batter. Oh, I didn't add the sugar. Did I add the sugar? I didn't add the sugar. Sugar, 1/4 cup of sugar. I'd say that's about 1/4 cup. Let's put that in there. Let's mix that together. All right, so in there we have the flour, the salt, the sugar, and the 4 tablespoons of the baking powder. In here we have the 3/4 cup of peanut butter and the 1 1/3 cups of milk, and I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of the maple syrup. To give the peanut butter bread, the peanut butter loaf, a Canadian flair. So let's mix that all together. We're going to bake this at 325 for a nice long time, for 1 hour and 10 minutes. We are now going to mix these two together, and like I said, you don't want to over mix it. You kind of just want to fold the liquids into the flour mixture, making sure you make a mess. It does not look very appetizing and appealing right now, but I promise it will be delicious. If you like peanut butter, you're going to like this recipe. It's not super sweet, so it's more of a loaf versus a cake. It's going to be thick. That's normal. It's not a really porry type of a batter. That's a technical cooking term, by the way, porry. Okay, so we're just gonna get this in here and get it in the oven. This is such a good breakfast food or snack, you know, before bed when you're just a little hungry, but you don't really want to have something heavy. This is so good. And so spread it out into each of the little corners. And because there's no eggs in there, you can lick the spatula. I'm going to put this in the oven for an hour and 10 minutes. At that point, I'm going to check it. And if it doesn't feel like it's done, I'm going to add 5-minute increments, because every stove is different, every oven's different, and it'll really depend on your altitude. But I find that an hour and 10 minutes is about right for me. So I will see you back here in an hour, 10 minutes, maybe a little bit longer. Okay. The timer went off at an hour and 10 minutes. It wasn't quite done, so I've left it in there for another 10 minutes. So it's been an hour and 20 minutes. Let's pull this sucker out. The house smells amazing. Oh, yeah. Look at that. I gotta tell you, this is delicious. So I'm gonna let this cool off right here on the stove for a little while, and then we will slice it open so you can see what it looks like inside. But if it tastes half as good as it smells, it's going to be delicious. So I'll see you back here in maybe half hour. All right. We have the bread cool enough. It's not fully cool, but I don't want to wait any longer because I want a snack. So I'm just going to eat it and see what it's like. It'll probably be a little crumbly because it's not fully cooled off. Yes, I should wait. Okay. My goodness. The thing is that it's not very sweet, but it's just sweet enough. Like the first time I made it, I was like, yeah, it's good. And then it was like, oh, it just kept getting better and better as I kept eating it, you know, with a little bit of butter on it or margarine. It's just so good. You know, I kind of like it with the chunky peanut butter because it's got those bits of peanut in there. But it's really good with smooth as well. Guys, let me know if you try this. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you try it with a different nut butter other than peanut butter, or even with the sun butter, the one that's made with, I think it's sunflower seeds for people who have peanut allergies. Next Wednesday, I will go back to moving the video from the other channel over to this one. But for this week, I just wanted you guys to try this. I think because it was cold outside and this is nice and warm and with a cup of coffee, the perfect snack. Guys, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe, and I will see you next week.